Hey everybody, you are looking at my Trello board called Jason's Desktop Board, and we'll come back to that in a second. Uh, the purpose of this video is I wanted to do a quick Trello video that would help with some of the recurring and repeating tasks that we do from a planning perspective. What you're looking at here is my dashboard of all my Trello boards. What I don't want to do is I don't want to do a typical Trello tutorial because I know that for most of you, you can find exactly what you need by just going onto YouTube and typing in Trello tutorial. I don't want to go through something that's showing you the basic in and outs of Trello when that information is so readily accessible. But what I do want to do is show you kind of how I use it to stay organized and to stay on top of things. Trello serves as a place for me to store things that I need, and also as a planner of sorts. And let's talk about how that works. So I'm a very digital person. I love paper and pen and all things stationary. But when it comes to planning, I find that digital works best for me because I spend a lot of my day at work on my MacBook. I spend a lot of my time when I'm not in the office on my iPad. And then when I'm in between places, I've always got my phone on me. Now, it would be easy because I use all Apple products. It would be easy for me to use iCloud. And I suppose people could make a really good case for using iCloud in my situation. The reason I like Trello is because Trello isn't specific to one operating system. It's not specific to a device. So not only can I install the Trello app on my phone, my Apple Watch, my iPad, and then have all of this everywhere I happen to be, but I can also collaborate and work with people that don't use Apple products. So I don't have to worry that if I'm working with Gilded Social or if I'm working with our designers, that the people I'm working with won't have access to something because I've put it in iCloud, which is an Apple thing. So that's my reasoning for using Trello. The reason I like digital planning is because my planner, when I use a paper planner, it often ends up stuffed with stuff. I need notes and I need things relative to my tasks and my appointments, and I like to keep everything in one place and very organized. So Trello lets me do that. So we're going to take a look at this. This board is my Jason's Desktop board, which you could really call it anything. I could call this Jason's Planner. The reason it's called Desktop Board, I guess, is because I spend a lot of time with this board open, and it kind of serves as my work desktop. So I'm not storing files on the actual desktop on my computer. This is kind of my virtual desktop. So you'll see I have 4 lists or columns set up. The first is my to-do list. Then I've got a notes section. I've got a storage section, and I've got a helpful links section. I'm going to start at the back and work my way forward because I have less to talk about on these lists and more as we get closer to the front. So starting with helpful links, what I did was I went over here, I clicked on add a list, and I created a list called helpful links. Then from within here, I clicked on add a card, and I created these cards. We'll create another one, but I'll just show you really quickly what these do first. So this first one is helpful links, usernames, and passwords. So these are things that I might find myself going to frequently, not frequently enough to keep them open on all of my devices all the time, but frequently enough that I want to get to them pretty quickly. So when I click on usernames and passwords, when this card opens up, you'll see that over here in the description, there's a link, and here's the Trello logo. This is a link to another Trello board. So I'm not going to use that one because it has usernames and passwords, but I will look at, for example, this class sign-in issues quick link. This is a board that our team at work uses to communicate about issues members have trying to sign up for classes online or via the app. This is something that I need to look at frequently. So I can just open this card and click on this link, and it's going to bring me right to that board, which is really cool for me. Let me get back into my desktop board here. So let me just show you really quickly. I've got one for usernames and passwords, class sign-in issues. Basically, this helpful links is taking me to other areas in Trello or to possibly documents that are in Google Drive. This is just anywhere I want to put a link to somewhere that I find myself going to quickly. frequently, this will allow me to get there quickly. I'm going to add a new one. Let me just check and see. I think we were going to do, yes, I'm going to add a quick link to this 2018 Elevate Marketing Calendar. So I'm going to create a card. I'm going to call it Marketing Calendar. And that's that. Now I'm going to go back to this marketing calendar board. I'm going to open it up. You can't see me doing this because it's just out of shot or out of the screen, but I'm copying the URL from my browser for this particular board. I'm going to go back over to my desktop board. I'm going to open that card, and in the description field, I'm just going to paste the link to that Trello board. And you'll see when I save it, it knows that that's a Trello board, and it automatically creates this quick link to that board for me. And now my marketing calendar can be easily accessed from this card here. Looks like I'm having a little bit of a connectivity issue at the moment. That's what this yellow sending means. So this site's trying to catch up with me, but that's how I would do that. So when I click now on that marketing calendar card and I click on that link, it takes me right to that board. So all this stuff that I'm doing in between, where I'm going back and forth between boards, I'm cutting out those unnecessary extra clicks. So I hope that explains what's going on here. And again, you can do that with anything. It won't always look like a neat, clean link like this does, because this is all living within the Trello environment, so it converts that for me. It might look a little bit clunkier, but it's still nice to have all of that stuff that you need readily accessible here all the time. Now my next category is storage. So storage is kind of like my virtual hard drive or my iCloud. This is where I've got things that I want to be able to access pretty frequently, but I'm not actively using them all the time. So I'm storing things here. Here's an example. I've got all of our logos are being stored here in a card. And this is so if I'm working on a project where I need to pull a logo for Elevate really quickly, I can just come over to this card, and then attached to this card are all of the logo pieces that were created for us by our designer. So I can just come in here and pull what I need, and you can see I've got all sorts of different file types. I've got JPEG images, PNG images. I think there might be some Illustrator files and stuff in here. There's all sorts of things. So you know, I can do that by just coming here to the card and coming over here to the right-hand side. You'll see underneath Add this attachment, and you click on this and you choose where you're attaching it from, probably computer, and then just like any other file attachment process, you would attach whatever you're looking for to this card. So that's great. I store a lot of things over here that I need. Also at the bottom, we'll come back to this, but see this daily to-do list? And if you see this little icon right here, this box with a check mark, that means that it's a repeating card, which we'll talk about when we get to the to-do list column. So that's kind of what's going on with storage over here. Next, I have notes. Pretty simple. These are just all notes that I'm taking. I treat this like a notebook, and I try to go through here about once a week and clean things up. So this Over 40 ab solution, this is a program that I bought on the internet one day on a Facebook ad, and I was like, I'm over 40, I want an ab solution. It wasn't the greatest purchase I've ever made, but I uploaded all of the files that purchase gave me access to, intending to one day read them. I'm using it for a little bit of market research. So I've got that over here in my notes because I've got a couple projects where I want to refer to that. I'm trying to learn Google AdWords, so I've got my training notes over here. All sorts of yoga descriptions and documents, things that I need to do, you know, with the website or whatever. Any notes that I want to be able to refer to pretty easily, I keep right here. That brings me to the to-do list. You'll notice if you open this card, I've got a daily to-do list, and these are all of the things that are repeating events for me. So this is how I would treat my to-do list. This daily to-do list are things that I do every day at work. Now I've set up a repeating card to help me manage these things. That was this card I was referring back to in storage over here. So when I open this, here's the things that I need to make sure I'm doing every single morning as soon as I get to work. Check nplug for device connectivity. Approve, deny new nplug social posts, respond to Facebook messages and posts, send out career plug assessment invites as necessary, check data track events for completion for Perkville integration, clean up our active campaign pipelines, check Trello boards for class sign and tech issues that need to be addressed. This is just a partial list. I just didn't want to share my whole to-do list here, so I'll finish working putting those tasks back in once we're done here. But I have this card that basically every day I want to be able to come over here to my to-do list, open this card and say, okay, I've done these things and check those off as I go. What I don't want to do at the end of the day is go back through and uncheck everything and move it over or get it ready for the next day. I just want a new card to show up every day. So I use a handy little feature here. This is a power-up feature. You have to actually go into your Trello account settings and turn this power up or this feature on. But basically, I created my list here. And if you don't know how to create a checklist, super simple. Under Add, you click Checklist. You name your checklist. Once you've named your checklist, these spots here open up where you can actually go in and just start adding the items you want on your checklist. This is great if you want to do an invite list because you're planning a party, if you want to do a to-do list, if you've got certain steps in a process or procedure that you want to be able to replicate really easily, checklists are super handy. This to-do list I can always go back to and change by adding items here or actually editing the individual tasks in the list. But what we're talking about now is repeating. I want this card to show up every weekday on my to-do list column at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever. I'm going to use this repeat power up, and you'll see I already have mine set up. This repeats weekly on the days selected, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. So every weekday I'm going to see this card at 7 a.m. The system is automatically going to take this card and send it to the list I've determined here. I chose to-do list, and I want that at the top of my to-do list every morning. Today's Friday, so the 16th, so I'm not going to see another card repeat until Monday, March 19th, because that's the next weekday at 7 a.m. If this card is deleted or moved to another board, we'll stop repeating the card. So a little warning there. So I'm just going to save this. Super easy to create a repeating card. Now, let's say I want to add something just today. I need to remember to, we're going to check the Elevate info general email. But this isn't something I do every day. It actually is and needs to go back on my list. But let's just say it's not and I'm adding it for today. I can do that really quickly here if I want to do that. Or what I probably do is I just start a new card and I put that task here as the name of the card. It's just a little easier for me to view it that way. And then I know that these are my repeating everyday tasks and these are my special tasks that I'm adding. Maybe this is something that I want to put on my to-do list, but I'm not going to do it till Monday. I can come over here and put a due date on that under Add, Due Date, and I would just click on Monday, save that, and then you'll see this little due date pop up here. When I look at the card here, you'll see it's due on March 19th, and I can always, if I've done it early, I can check it off there, and that's going to say, hey, great job, you're done, you've finished your task here. I'm going to delete this card for the time being. Now let's say I want to add that to my list that repeats every day. Super easy. I just go over to the one that has the repeat set. So that's not this one. It's the one in my storage column. And I'm going to add that to the list on the repeating card. And now that to-do task is going to be on my to-do list every time that card repeats over here. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So we talked a little bit about how to create checklists and cards, how to edit those checklists, how to repeat a card, how to attach files to a card. Last couple things, you can always, if this is something, if you look at this actions area, if this is something you want to move, you can move it to another board, another list. You can move it anywhere in Trello. You can copy it if you want to copy and then move a copy of the card. Maybe I wanted to share this with a coworker so they could see what my daily to-do list looks like, and I want them to have a copy of it that they can edit and use as their own. I could use this feature. Subscribing will send me an email or a ping on my Apple Watch every time a change is made to the card. So if I'm collaborating on a card with somebody, that's a great feature so that I can see whenever they've done something. Archiving will take this card off my board but make it searchable through the main menu search feature. And then Share and More gives me some other options where I can actually delete the card if I decide I don't want it anymore. I can print it, which is helpful for some of the longer checklists if I want a hard copy for the day. I can embed it in a website, which I haven't found a reason to do yet, but I can't wait until I do. And those are some of the additional actions you can take. Now I'm also going to create over here like a weekly to-do list. And this is things that I only do once a week. So there's my new card that I just created. Here comes a checklist. I'm just going to, for the sake of consistency, I'm going to call it weekly to-do list. And some of the things that I need to put over here is I need to check referral leads in Kirkville, Kirkville, and add to active campaign. I swear I can spell, you guys. I need to audit my active there we go again, campaign pipelines for won and lost leads. So I'm going to continue building this out after the video, but I would add everything I need here. And then this card I want to repeat weekly. Again, I start early in the day, so I want this to show up at 7 a.m. every day. But I only want it to show up on Mondays because it's a weekly list. I do these things once a week, so I only need one version of this. I want this to repeat to my to-do list, and I want this I want this beneath the daily to-do list. If you had more than 2 cards, these would actually be numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. I'm going to save that, and this card will now repeat every Monday over here underneath my daily to-do list. I hope this has been sort of helpful. If you're already using Trello and you're a member of the Elevate team, I hope this helps you better manage the Trello boards that you're using. If you're not using Trello, I hope this helps explain some of the reasons why you might want to consider it for organization and planning. Thanks.